Now, if you've ever looked at the comments, God bless you if you're willing to go in there, of any post on social media, chances are that you've seen a few trolls in the mix.
Yeah, but while some trolls are only here to wind us up, others can be more targeted, even a form of harassment.
Yeah, joining us now to share her insights is cyberpsychologist and co-host of the In Bits podcast, Nicola Fox Hamilton. Nicola, thank you so much. It's lovely to have you here. Now, you have got a brand new episode, which I just think is absolutely fascinating. It's about internet trolls and online harassment. Tell us about this.
So internet trolling is something that's been around for a long time. The name kind of came about around the 90s, and it started from two different perspectives. One is like trolling for bait. It's like a fishing term where you throw out bait and you see who bites. And that's part of trolling, seeing who you can get to engage and who you can provoke. And then the other side of it, when it became a very kind of negative thing to troll, because it wasn't always, it was considered kind of humorous first. Then the idea of the kind of mythical troll under the bridge who is committing violence or like kind of trick you into doing things also became part of it as well. So it's kind of two different terms that converge on this kind of behaviour that's quite negative.
Yeah, it feels like as long as the internet's been around, there's been people there trolling. I mean,
there have, yeah. And there's different kinds of really negative behaviour online, and sometimes they blur the boundaries between them. But trolling's something quite specific. It's deliberate and it's designed to get outrage or get a reaction from people or be harmful to people. And it's kind of on a spectrum. So there's some trolling that's actually funny. So if somebody puts up a picture and they ask for help with Photoshop and they say, you know, can you please do this? And they're not quite specific enough, and the person interprets their directions in a particular way and does something that's quite funny. That's just done for humour. It's not harmful in any way. It might be a little bit frustrating to the person who posted the photo, but it's not harmful.
Like, we're just looking at this fella is notorious that we're looking at on screen. I absolutely adore him. Hi, James. Love your Photoshop work. Would you clean the stone wall for me? And he photoshopped someone in himself cleaning the stone wall. It's funny. He knows, most people now want him to troll them in this way.
And it's absolutely brilliant. And it's also kind of like people are asking for Photoshop work for free, so it's kind of playing on that. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got attack trolls. And they might, like at the very extreme end, there's people who target grieving families and they're deliberately trolling them. There was a guy put in jail in the UK for targeting the grieving families of teenagers who had died through suicide and other methods. And it was relentless on Facebook and putting up videos and photographs and commenting on their pages that had been memorialized. And that's just really, really dark. So it's a spectrum of behaviors. Everybody who trolls isn't the same.
But again, with that, there are real life repercussions. You think you live on the internet, but there are real life repercussions, and a lot of the authorities are trying to keep up with this, right?
And it is difficult. You know, trolling itself isn't necessarily against the law until it becomes a sustained attack. So we've had cases here, and one particular case in Ireland where there were 6 women in the public eye. They were journalists, writers, etc., who were targeted by one guy for years relentlessly. So he was actually prosecuted for harassment because it was this sustained attack continuously, and it caused significant psychological distress. So there are ways to deal with someone who is that extreme. It's a little bit more difficult when you've got kind of multiple people who are engaging a bit, but not in a sustained manner.
I mean, it seems now today it's become almost trendy. If someone is getting attacked or abused online, other people just want to follow suit and get involved as if it's a TikTok trend.
Yeah, well, it's something called social norms. So when you are in an environment where you see this happening, you think that it's acceptable and more like normal to do it. And so there's some spaces online that you know if you go and look at them, there's going to be really toxic content there. So if you go to like 4chan or some places on Reddit or Twitter, you know you're going to see a lot of toxic stuff. So the more you see it there, the more people join in because it looks like it's appropriate and normal in that space. In a space that's more curated with really good moderation tools, you're less likely to see it because the norm of behaviour is to be more respectful. So when you're trying to create an online community, you want from the outset to be really clear about your rules to create a norm of respectful behaviour. That helps.
Who is the target of trolls? Like, we've spoken about what's going to happen with our political discourse in life. Like, is anyone ever going to become a politician because of the level of trolling that happens there? But they're like, anyone can be a target, right?
Anyone can be a target at all. So DCU did a study a couple of years ago where they talked about, like, have you ever experienced online hate, which would encompass trolling as well as some other things as well. and nearly half of people had. So that's over a lifetime. More other studies that looked at in the last 12 months would find, obviously lower numbers, but still quite high. But women experience it about twice as much as men.
Yay.
And then anyone, like a member of the LGBTQ plus community, anyone with a disability, anyone who's an ethnic minority, anyone with a different skin color, anyone with a different religion, particularly Islam, all experience it at much, much higher levels than your standard straight white Catholic male.
Okay.
Well, as a straight white Catholic male, I can vouch. I've been posting on social media now for 3 or 4 years, and I always said that I'm so lucky that my community is so friendly and so positive, because I try and keep my content that, and obviously my nephew Oshin features quite a bit in my content, so I really do have a zero tolerance policy. And for about 3 years, I didn't get anything. And then coming into the end of last year, for whatever reason, it started to come in, and I couldn't get off the couch for a full day. Like, I didn't think it would affect me as much as it would, and I have friends in the industry who really went through a bad time. And will there be any repercussions going forward? Will there be any implementations put in place for people to actually get reprimanded for this behaviour?
It depends. Like, it is quite difficult to prosecute. It's quite difficult to find the line between, I suppose, someone's reasonable free speech and what is criminal. I think social media platforms could be doing more. There's some things that do seem to work quite well, like little nudges. And I don't know if you've ever seen them when you go to post something, you say, other people tend not to use language like this. Are you sure you want to post it? That actually does reduce the amount of accidental trolling and harassment people do. So the kind of people who get caught up in it, rather than the kind of people who are maliciously setting out to do it, it's going to be harder to tackle them.
We know that social media companies have abdicated all responsibility for this because they're trying to get rid of moderators increasingly. But there's the ideas of digital passports, of things that we can do, so is that you have to be a person. Like, we all know people can have 75 million, as many accounts as they want. What do you think should be done? You're in this area all the time.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult to solve. It would be great if there was a really simple answer, like a digital passport. The problem is, if you have something where you're uploading your passport details or some sort of ID details, you've got data protection issues. Like, I don't want to be giving social media companies any of my data, any more than they're already getting. Some people need alternate accounts for protesting. Trans people maybe have a different identity that they're not able to express offline. They need to be able to express that online. People need to be able to speak up anonymously, whistleblowers, things like that. So there are reasons why people would want to have an anonymous or different identity online.
Yeah.
And people often think that anonymity is the problem, and if we get rid of that, that solves everything. In some cases, depending on what the topic is, people who are not anonymous are worse online because it's something related to their core beliefs. And when someone challenges your core beliefs, that makes you more likely to speak out in a toxic way online.
In what it is that you're doing. The podcast is called In Bits, Deconstructing Our Digital Lives, where you're covering topics. I know you did one about children and online. It was fascinating for parents going, oh my God. And this one is about trolling. It's so good. Make sure that you check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Nicola Fox Hamilton, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nicola.
Really appreciate it. Back shortly on Ireland AM.